What's going on, guys? HybridHero here, back again once again with the latest fact videos on 10 facts you didn't know about the Kanto starters. These aren't facts on the individual starters themselves, as we've already done videos for each starter family, but rather facts on the starters as a whole. And by latest, I mean like the latest. I'm pretty sure I've been more late with this video than the previous Squirtle family fact video, which, if you haven't seen already, be sure to check it out. And as for the future of this series, I am planning to upload a fact video at least once a month. But what video will be coming out next in the series? Well, you're gonna have to stay tuned to the end of the video to find out. If you guys do enjoy the video, be sure to hero punch that like button. If you don't, hit that dislike button. Let me know how you feel. Comment down below your thoughts and opinions. Which of these facts did you already know, and which ones didn't you know? Is there a cool fact that I didn't mention? Let me know. Share the video if it helps support the channel. And finally, subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all my content. Number 10. The fully evolved Kanto starters were the first Pokemon to appear in the show. Most fans of the original Pokemon anime will recall Mewtwo and Mew being the first Pokemon that appeared in the opening of the show, and therefore, the first Pokemon to appear in the anime. But the original Japanese airing of the show had a theme song that, for the most part, had the same animations as the original English theme song, but in a completely different sequence. The original Japanese theme song had a unique title scene, and then proceeded to go on to the scene with the mysterious girl from the opening, causing Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur to be the first Pokemon to appear, in that order. Why were they the first Pokemon to appear, you may ask? Well, besides the fact that they're starter Pokemon, it's also because they were paired up with this girl, who was directly referenced to in the opening. Yep, that's the thing. And it still is. Number 9. The starter Pokemon that you and your rival didn't pick really was Professor Oak's Pokemon. In the Generation 1 Pokemon games, there was unused data that had Professor Oak as a trainer, and judging by the level of his team, the super boss of the game. His team was similar to that of his grandsons, and consisted of a level 66 Tauros, a level 67 Executor, a level 68 Arcanine, a level 70 Gyarados, and finally, the starter that neither you or your rival chose, at level 69. So, you know all those times that you went back to try and take the last starter Pokemon that was sitting on Oak's desk, and the game kept telling you it was Oak's last Pokemon? Yeah, well, I don't know if it was his last Pokemon, but it was definitely his. Number 8. Charmander isn't as popular with the developers as Bulbasaur or Squirtle. It's no surprise that between the Kanto starters, and dare I say, between all the starters, that Charmander is the most popular one among fans. But that doesn't seem to be the case with the developers. In an interview with Junichi Masuda and Shigeru Mori, the two were asked the age-old question of Bulbasaur, Charmander, or Squirtle. Masuda immediately responded saying Bulbasaur, as Bulbasaur in his eyes is a very Pokemon-like Pokemon. It's a little monster thing with a plant on its back, and little combinations like that is what he says Pokemon's all about. Masuda also designed all the sounds and music in Red and Blue, and has fond memories of taking Bulbasaur's cute cry and making it even cooler with Ivysaur's and Venusaur's cry. Amori, on the other hand, picked Squirtle. His reasoning was a lot simpler, that being that he just prefers water-type Pokemon, and he even goes on to say they picked Mudkip in Ruby and Sapphire. Hey, any fan of Squirtle is a friend of mine, so I ain't complaining. This obviously isn't every developer's opinion, and I'm sure that there are a good number of developers that prefer Charmander over the other two starters, but at the very least, we know that Charmander still gets a ton of love from the fans. Number 7. In the manga, Red, Blue, and Green all had the starters that their name was technically stronger against. This is gonna get a little confusing, so just bear with me for a second. In the English translation of the Pokemon Adventures manga, just like the games, the manga parallel of the character, Gary Oak, is known as Blue Oak, while the main female protagonist is known as Green in the manga, rather than Leaf. And of course, Red is Red. What's interesting is that the Kanto starters that they respectively own is also the starter that they would technically by name be stronger against. Red owns Soar, the Venusaur, Blue owns Charizard, the Charizard, and Green owns Blasty, the Blastoise. 10 out of 10 nicknames, I know, but when your names are Red, Blue, and Green, I wouldn't have expected anything else. But this is only in the English translation of the manga, as in the original Japanese translation of the manga, blue was called green, and green was called blue. Outside of Japan, the two had their names swapped to fit the rivalry between Red and the guy who we're gonna call Gary to make things easier, alright? So that in Japan, since the original Pokemon games were red and green, Gary would be known as green. But in other countries, since the original versions in those regions were red and blue, he'd be known as Blue. And since Leaf entered later in the series, she got the name Blue since Gary didn't get it. And also because Pokemon Blue was released around the time her character was introduced to the series. But outside of Japan, since Gary already took the name Blue, she got the name Green. Like I said, it is a little confusing. But the Japanese names of the characters also had something cool going on with the Kanto starters. In the Fire Red and Leaf Green chapters of the Japanese manga, Red and Green trade their starters for a temporary period of time. And during that time, Red had owned Green's Charizard, while Green had owned Red's Venusaur, and Blue had still had her Blastoise, making it so that in the Japanese version of the manga, each character had their name match their current starter at the time. Number 6. The 4th Kanto starter appears as a starter in multiple games. Told you that this would be a video on the Kanto starters. Among the Kanto starters lies the only 4th ever starter Pokemon, Pikachu. So, I guess Pikachu's the actual popular starter. And it wasn't just a starter Pokemon in Pokemon Yellow either. In Pokemon Go, when you first start off your journey, Professor Willow presents you with the original trio of starters. But if you choose to ignore and walk away from all 3 of them, they will respawn in front of you again. But if you do this 4 times, Pikachu will appear along with the crew, and you can catch it as your starter Pokemon. Yeah, there's no way Niantic would have forgot about Pikachu. And honestly, it's a really nice little Easter egg that I personally just love. Number 5. The middle evolution of the Kanto starters were given out as starters. Pokemon Battle Revolution mainly relied on you to use your own Pokemon from the 4th gen games, rather than give you a ton of Pokemon on its own. However, there were a few Pokemon that players could use in Pokemon Battle Revolution without the use of a 4th gen game. And of course, there were starter Pokemon. Now, unlike other Pokemon games, this one gives you a full team of 6 from the get-go, and that team of 6 is determined by the gender on your rental or custom pass. Male trainers got a Sinnoh-oriented team, while female trainers got a Kanto-oriented team, containing Dragonair, Rhyhorn, Pidgeot, Ivysaur, Charmeleon, and Wartortle. All the middle evolution Kanto starters for just being female? Well, I guess it's time for me to start lying about my gender. Number 4. All 3 starters share the theme of being reptilian. Certain set of starters have been known for sharing a certain theme among the group, but this has actually been a trend since Generation 1, with the theme of the Generation 1 starters being that they're all reptiles. Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and Venusaur, as the name implies, are based off of dinosaurs. More specifically, the Dicynodonts? Yeah, I can't pronounce that, but Bulbapedia said that the Bulbasaur family is most likely based off the mammal-like reptile, the Dicynodont. They said mammal-like, so it's not actually a mammal. It's got Saur in its name like dinosaur, and Saur does mean lizard in ancient Greek. Charmander is based off a salamander, which surprisingly is actually an amphibian. However, Charmeleon, which as the name implies, is more based off of a chameleon, which is in fact a reptile. And Charizard, being the quote-unquote dragon that it is probably a reptile. I mean, hey, its Japanese name is Lizardon, so I'd say it's a pretty safe bet. And also with the whole Charmander possibly being an amphibian thing, with its whole fire tail and lore surrounding that, I doubt it. Finally, some of you may find this surprising, but turtles and tortoises are not amphibians, but are actually reptiles. I don't want to turn this video into a huge science lecture, so you'll have to do a quick Google search to find out the specifics. But one of the reasons as to why they're not amphibian is because amphibians lay eggs in the water and are born with gills and then later develop lungs as they move on to adulthood. Turtles and tortoises, on the other hand, do not lay eggs in the water, and they don't develop their lungs later on in life, as they already have it. So yeah, Squirtle, Wartortle, and Blastoise are all reptiles, just like their Kanto starter brethren. Number 3. The Kanto Mega Evolutions inspired Junichi Masuda to add the Kanto starters to the main story of X and Y. Masuda was the director of Pokemon X and Y, and he didn't initially have the Kanto starters planned to be a part of the main story. But after seeing the designs of the Mega Kanto starters for the first time, he had decided that they needed to be incorporated into the main story somehow, so that they were easily accessible to the players. And since the Kalos starters weren't actually given up by the Professor, and Professor Sycamore was studying Mega Evolution, there was a perfect opportunity to squeeze them in there. Look here, alright? when I first heard that the Kanto starters were going to be given to us during that Pokemon Direct all those years ago, I screamed, alright. And by the time they showed us the Mega Evolutions, I had tears rolling down my face. That day was truly a beautiful day, and I'm glad that players old and new got to experience Mega Evolution with the Kanto starters during the main story. Thanks for that, Masada. Number 2. The Kanto starters appeared on real-world currency. Niue, a small island nation that's located in the South Pacific Ocean, has a population of only 1,622 people. And since they don't have a country or population big enough to support their own currency, they use New Zealand dollars. However, they do in fact geek out by producing their own commemorative coins every year. And in 2001, Niue's commemorative coin collection actually featured Pokemon. These coins were all $1 in value and had Niue's coat of arms on one side, and then on the other side, it featured either Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, Pikachu, or Meowth. The 4 Kanto starters and their favorite frenemy. Oh man, I wish Payday would pay me with these real-world Poké Dollars. Number 1. In North America, the Pokemon franchise, as well as the Kanto starters, were first seen and released onto the Game Boy before Pokemon Red and Blue. Nani? How is this possible? Well, 4 months prior to the release of Pokemon Red and Blue in North America, there was an accessory that came out for the Game Boy called the Game Boy Camera. And, well, I think it's best if I let the commercial do most of the explaining.
When it's least expected, you're elected, you're the star today. Smile, you're on Game Boy Camera.
I'll leave the link to the full commercial down below, but you owe it to yourself to watch the whole thing. Anyways, you were able to obviously take pictures with the Game Boy Camera, but there were a few other cool things that you can mess around with, such as minigames and stamps. And with the rest of the release of the Game Boy Camera, there were 6 stamps that were included in the bunch, and no one knew what these 6 stamps were. But they in fact turned out to be the debut appearances of 6 of our favorite Pokemon: Bulbasaur, Pikachu, Charmander, Meowth, Squirtle, and Mew. So, the West had the privilege of getting a head start on the age-old question: Bulbasaur, Charmander, or Squirtle, before the original games even came out. There we have it, guys. Those are the 10 facts that you didn't know about the Kanto starters. I hope you enjoyed. Next month, we'll be taking a look at, I don't really know yet, because if the Pokemon Switch Kanto rumors are true, which I think they will be, I may end up doing another Kanto starter fact video based off the information that we get for the Switch game. But if not, then as per requested by you guys, we'll be going ahead and getting started with the Sinnoh starters, with the first video being on the Turtwig family. But I really need your help on coming up with some facts for the entirety of the Sinnoh starters, because it's been very difficult finding cool facts for these guys, so any help would greatly be appreciated, and it's looking like I need the help, alright? So if you come forward with any facts on Twitter or in the comment section, thank you so much. You have no idea how much help it's going to be. Once again, thanks for everything, guys. I'll see you in the next video, alright? Later.